The Deadly Lie of Lena Tran. Lena Tran was the kind of daughter parents boasted about at dinner parties. She was polite, soft-spoken, and always seemed to have her nose buried in a textbook. At school, she was known for straight A's, her flawless piano recitals, and the smile she gave teachers whenever she was praised. Her parents, Min and Lena Tran, had immigrated to Canada from Vietnam decades earlier, carrying nothing but hope and an iron determination to succeed. They worked tirelessly at a local factory, saved every dollar, and invested it all into their children. Their dream was simple, a better life. But with that dream came expectations. Discipline, perfection, achievement. And Lena, their eldest, was expected to lead the way. On the outside, she delivered. Her parents proudly told relatives that Lena had been accepted into the prestigious University of Westbrook to study pharmacy. They bragged about her scholarships, her volunteer hours, her bright future. To them, she was proof that sacrifice bore fruit. But behind the polished exterior, Lena lived a life of lies. Lena wasn't in university. She had dropped out months earlier after failing several classes. The truth was too humiliating, too dangerous to reveal. Instead, she forged report cards, created fake acceptance letters, and even constructed detailed schedules so her parents believed she was in class all day. But she wasn't studying at all. She was hiding in cafes, scrolling her phone, or sneaking away to see her secret boyfriend, Darren Wu. Darren wasn't who her parents wanted. He was the opposite of everything they envisioned, aimless, drifting between part-time jobs, with a reputation for trouble. Min and Lena disapproved instantly when they discovered him. "You are not to see him again," her father ordered, his voice sharp as steel. But Lena was in love. To her, Darren was the only person who saw her as more than just the perfect daughter. He let her breathe. He let her be herself. So, she lied even more. Every night she told her parents she was studying late, while in reality, she was wrapped up in Darren's world, secret drives, late-night fast food runs, and whispered promises that one day they'd be free from her parents' control. But whispers turned into plans. And plans turned into something darker. By her early 20s, Lena's double life was cracking. The lies were harder to maintain. Her parents demanded proof of her graduation, demanded to meet professors she didn't have. They grew suspicious, stricter, angrier. And Darren was pressuring her too. "Why can't you just tell them?" he asked one night. "Why can't you stand up for yourself?" "They'll never understand," Lena whispered, eyes glassy. "They'll never let me be with you. I'll always be trapped." That's when the thought first slipped into her mind. Sharp, poisonous, and impossible to shake. What if they weren't around anymore? It was Darren who first joked about it. A throwaway comment, a muttered, "If they're gone, we can be together." But to Lena, it wasn't a joke. It was a possibility. Within weeks, the idea became a plan. She whispered to Darren about hiring someone, about staging a robbery, about finally being free. And Darren, caught in her lies and promises, agreed to help. Act 4. The Night of Terror. November 9, 2010. The Tran family home sat quietly on its suburban street. Christmas lights twinkled from the neighbors' windows, and the air was crisp with the bite of approaching winter. At 9:34 p.m., Lena dialed Darren. Her voice was steady. "It's time." Minutes later, 3 masked men slipped into the house. The back door had been left unlocked, just as Lena promised. Inside, chaos erupted. Lena Tran screamed as the intruders pulled her into the living room. Min shouted, demanding answers, trying to protect his wife. The gunshots came quickly, brutal, echoing off the walls. Lena, meanwhile, was tied loosely to the staircase. Her hands bound just enough to look convincing. She cried, she begged, she played the part of the terrified daughter. And then she dialed 911. Her voice shook as she whispered, "Please hurry. They tied me up, they shot my parents." When police arrived, they found a scene from a nightmare. Lena Tran was dead, shot twice in the chest. Min lay bleeding, a bullet tearing through his cheek and shattering his jaw. Somehow, he clung to life. And Lena, the dutiful daughter, sobbed as she told officers how masked intruders had stormed the house, demanded money, and executed her parents while she sat helpless. At first, they believed her. But suspicion grows like a shadow. Why would intruders leave Lena alive? Why was nothing stolen from the house? How had she managed to dial 911 with her hands tied? Detectives began to watch Lena more closely. They noticed the details in her story shifting with each retelling. They noticed her tears came a little too easily and stopped a little too quickly. And then they found the phone records. Hundreds of texts between Lena and Darren. Messages about money. Messages about timing. Messages that spoke not of fear, but of planning. The illusion shattered. When confronted, Lena insisted it wasn't what it looked like. She said she had only hired the men to kill her. It was supposed to be a suicide by proxy, not the murder of her parents. But then came the damning testimony. From his hospital bed, jaw wired shut, Lena Tran whispered the truth. He had seen Lena that night, walking freely, speaking calmly to the intruders. Not a hostage, not a victim, but an accomplice. The courtroom was packed when Lena Tran stood trial. Prosecutors painted her as a manipulator, a young woman who had built her life on lies, who saw murder as the only escape from her parents' control. They showed the jury the text messages. They played the 911 call, her voice trembling as she sold the performance of her life. They described her father's testimony, his heartbreak as he realized his daughter had betrayed him. Lena wept on the stand. She told the jury she never meant for her mother to die, that she had only wanted release from the suffocating pressure of her parents. But the jury wasn't moved. After weeks of testimony, they delivered their verdict. Guilty. First-degree murder. Attempted murder. Conspiracy to commit murder. Lena Tran was sentenced to life in prison, with no chance of parole for 25 years. Darren Wu and the hired men received the same. Justice was served. But the scars remained. Lena Tran would never recover fully. The bullet destroyed his ability to speak clearly, his body weakened, his spirit shattered. He cut Lena out of his life completely, refusing even to read her letters from prison. For him, his daughter was gone. And for Lena, prison became her new stage. Behind bars, she slipped back into familiar roles. She cried to fellow inmates, spinning tales of innocence, claiming she had been forced, manipulated, misunderstood. Some believed her. Some pitied her. She even reached out to Darren, writing letters despite the life sentence they both shared. And disturbingly, her influence remained. There were those, strangers, admirers, even acquaintances behind bars, who believed her, who saw her as fragile, broken, worthy of sympathy. In 2021, a decade after her conviction, Lena resurfaced in the news. She filed an appeal, arguing her trial had been unfair, that jury instructions had been flawed. For the Tran family, it was like reopening a wound that never healed. Her conviction stood, but the appeal granted her something chilling: parole eligibility. One day, Lena Tran might walk free. For some, the thought was unbearable. How could someone who orchestrated such betrayal, such violence, ever be allowed another chance? But for others, the ones who still believed in her, the possibility felt like justice delayed. And that is the true danger of Lena Tran. She doesn't just destroy with violence. She destroys with belief. Because even now, years later, she has the power to convince, to manipulate, to charm. And the haunting question lingers. If Lena Tran is released, what happens next? If this story made you think for a second, then share it. Comment and subscribe to the channel for more.